92% of people fail, not because they're not smart, not because they don't work hard, but because they ignore one principle that separates the dreamers from the doers. Most people never make it. Not because they didn't want it, not because they didn't have a dream, but because they misunderstood the rules of the game. They thought wanting was enough. They thought excitement was the signal. They thought motivation was the fuel. But let me break something to you. And I say this with all the truth and weight it carries. Motivation is a liar. It lies to you when you're hyped. It lies to you when you're tired. It makes you feel like action is optional. It convinces you that if you don't feel like doing something, it's okay to delay it, to avoid it, to excuse it. But life doesn't care how you feel. Goals don't care. Your future doesn't care. And neither does success. Motivation is temporary. It's based on emotion. And emotion is unpredictable. It comes and goes like the wind. One moment you're fired up. The next you're empty. So when you build your goals on motivation, you're building a house on sand. It won't last. It can't last. And that's where discipline comes in. Because discipline doesn't ask how you feel. Discipline doesn't need fireworks. Discipline doesn't need loud music or cinematic speeches. Discipline shows up when motivation disappears. Discipline is the part of you that keeps moving when everything else wants to quit. You see, the difference between the 92% and the 8% is simple. The 92% rely on motivation. The 8% rely on discipline. The 92% only move when they feel inspired. The 8% move because they made a decision, and they honor it daily regardless of how they feel. That's the principle most people miss. They chase the highs. They scroll for quotes. They watch motivational videos hoping for a spark. And for a moment, they feel it, that surge. That adrenaline, they start the project. They hit the gym. They open the notebook. But then the feeling fades. The buzz wears off. Real life returns. And they stop. They stop because they thought the spark was supposed to last forever. They thought being passionate meant being constantly fired up. But that's not how greatness is built. Greatness is built in silence. It's built in early mornings and late nights. It's built in repetition. It's built in moments no one sees. Moments where you feel nothing, but still choose to move forward. You want to know what discipline looks like? It looks like getting up at 5 a.m. when your body screams for rest. It looks like writing when your mind is blank. It looks like working out when your muscles ache. It looks like showing up, not because you feel like it, but because you said you would. Because real power isn't found in hype. It's found in habits. Motivation is sexy. It feels good. It gets clicks and likes. But discipline is quiet. It doesn't brag. It doesn't flash. But it's what carries you when everything else gives out. And make no mistake, there will come a day when motivation leaves you. When the excitement dies. When you hit a wall. When the voice in your head starts whispering, just take a break. You've done enough. No one will notice if you stop. And in that moment, you'll have two choices. Let motivation win or let discipline lead. The successful ones, they choose discipline every time. Because they know the truth, success isn't built on days you feel good. It's built on the days you feel nothing, but do it anyway. Look at anyone who's made it, truly made it. Athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, leaders. Do you think they were motivated every day? No. Most days, they didn't feel like doing it. Most days, they were tired, discouraged, doubting. But they showed up anyway, because they didn't wait for inspiration. They trained for consistency. They knew that feelings are fleeting, but discipline is foundational. Let me ask you something real. What do your habits say about you? Not your goals, not your vision board, not your dreams, your daily actions. The things you do when no one is watching, the way you talk to yourself when it's hard, that's what defines you. That's where the line is drawn. You see, discipline isn't just about doing what's hard. It's about doing what's necessary, even when it's boring, even when it's painful, even when it's lonely, especially then. Because the 92%, they quit at discomfort. The 8%, they grow through it. Motivation says, I'll do it when I'm ready. Discipline says, I'll do it because I'm committed. And that's what separates the ones who wish from the ones who win. You know what discipline is? It's self-respect. It's telling yourself that your goals matter enough to be honored, that your time is too valuable to be wasted, that your dream is too big to be dependent on a mood. When you move from being led by emotion to being led by principle, everything changes. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop starting over every Monday. You stop needing motivation to act, and you start moving like someone who's already won. Because that's what discipline does. It makes winners out of ordinary people. Think about it. Most of the world isn't failing because they aren't smart. Most aren't failing because they don't have potential. They're failing because they keep starting and stopping, because they're chasing feelings instead of building systems. They start strong. But strong starts are easy. Everyone can start. The 92%, they're great starters. But finishing, that's rare. That's sacred. That's reserved for the ones who understand this one truth. You don't need to be the most motivated. You just need to be the most consistent. And consistency is the child of discipline. It's born from the decision to keep going, even when the fire goes out. People spend so much time looking for the perfect routine, the perfect timing, the perfect mindset. But the truth is, there is no perfect. There is only now, only discipline, only choice. You either train your mind to serve your goals, or it will sabotage them. And motivation won't save you, not in the long run, because motivation is loud, but it's lazy. Discipline is quiet, but it's powerful. You won't always feel like showing up, but if you're disciplined, you will. You won't always feel strong, but if you're disciplined, you'll stay steady. You won't always feel excited, but if you're disciplined, you'll keep building. And when everyone else has quit, when the 92% have given up again, you'll still be standing, still showing up, still climbing, still moving. And that's the difference. It's not talent. It's not opportunity. It's not background or privilege or luck. It's discipline. It's the daily decision to choose action over excuses, vision over comfort, purpose over mood. And the beauty of it all, discipline can be trained. It's not a gift. It's a muscle. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets. The more you stretch it, the more it grows. At first, it's uncomfortable. It feels unnatural. You'll crave motivation. You'll miss the rush. But if you keep going, if you keep choosing discipline, it becomes who you are. It becomes your identity. You stop needing to get motivated. You become the kind of person who doesn't wait. You act. You stop talking about change. You live it. You stop chasing dreams. You build them. One day at a time. One action at a time. One disciplined choice at a time. And that's when you unlock the life most people never reach. Not because they couldn't, but because they misunderstood the one principle that makes all the difference. They confused motivation with discipline. You won't. Not anymore, because now you know. Now that you've seen what truly fuels champions, let's move into the next dimension. Not just doing, but doing regularly. The path doesn't demand grand gestures. It demands rhythm. Not lightning bolts, but heartbeats. And here's the reality: the climb is not won by explosions, but by the drumbeat of repetition. People are seduced by flashes, quick bursts of energy, loud declarations, one-time efforts. But none of that matters if it doesn't last. Many leap forward, shout their goals to the world, sprint with noise and flair, and then vanish, like fireworks, bright, brief, and gone. But those who reach heights aren't explosive, they're steady. Progress belongs to those who keep going, not for applause, not for recognition, but because they've mastered momentum. One action repeated over and over, slowly but surely, carves a path through even the hardest terrain. Ask anyone who's accomplished anything remarkable. They didn't erupt once and rest. They paced themselves. They committed to frequency, not occasional force. And that quiet commitment created storms of achievement. There's a certain elegance in slow advancement. It doesn't look impressive. It's not glamorous. But step after step, it builds something unshakable. Most ignore this truth because it's not exciting. It's not instant. It doesn't deliver thrill. But thrill is not transformation. Thrill is a spark. This is the furnace. You see, when you apply just a little overtime again and again, what looks small becomes massive. The tiniest push, when it's applied repeatedly, can shift mountains, not with pressure, but with patience. Most individuals underestimate what doing one small thing daily can lead to. They overestimate what they can do in one leap and underestimate what they can build brick by brick. But this misunderstanding is exactly what stalls them. They want to fly. They forget to walk. Look at the tree. Not planted yesterday. It didn't reach upward in a moment. Roots went down while nobody noticed. Leaves didn't appear to applause. But it grew every day, regardless of season, despite weather, because its nature was not to flash but to rise. We live in a world obsessed with velocity, fast wins, instant impact, rapid shifts. But here's the truth: they don't tell you speed is fragile. Velocity without foundation collapses. What you gain fast, you lose faster. But consistency, though slow, is unstoppable, not because it races, but because it never halts. The difference between potential and reality isn't ability, it's reliability. Not whether someone can do something once, but whether they'll do it over and over. Whether they'll show up on dull days, through setbacks, without reward. True strength isn't in a single act of power. It's in the accumulation of ordinary moments handled with intention. Rain doesn't flood in one drop, it collects. And eventually, it shapes the earth itself. Understand this: the rarest power isn't speed, it's repetition with purpose. Anyone can put in effort once, even twice. But can they do it endlessly? Can they build systems around repetition? Can they structure their life around rhythm? That's where real change is born. We've been trained to believe impact comes from extremes. That unless something is massive, it doesn't matter. That if it doesn't hurt or exhaust, it's worthless. But that mindset crushes progress. It tells people that small efforts aren't enough. And so they don't even begin. But that's the trap, because just doing something consistently, even modestly, compounds. And that compounding creates transformation. Let me tell you something most people don't hear: boring builds empires. The routines you almost ignore, the little practices, the regular patterns, the non-glamorous repetitions, that's the architecture of greatness. Not the 16-hour days once in a while, not the week-long sprints, but the hour daily, week after week. That's where the real shift happens. Think of the tide. You don't see the movement instantly, but over time, it changes entire coastlines, slowly, consistently, and utterly. The trap of intensity is this: it convinces people to go all in fast, loud, and hard, and then stop when results aren't instant. But results aren't born from sudden movements. They're forged in gradual growth. You want real movement? Do one thing again and again. Sharpen a blade by applying the same stroke. Master a skill by repeating fundamentals. Create impact by refining the same process. The master was once a beginner who kept returning. Not by switching constantly, not by chasing what's new, but by committing to repetition until it became instinct. One small motion, repeated thousands of times, is more powerful than 100 giant actions that never follow through. People want change, but they won't repeat. They want excellence. But they won't return. They want success. But they won't endure process. So they start, then stop, then restart, then stop again. And they wonder why nothing grows, nothing sticks, nothing lasts. It's not because they don't care. It's because they never built rhythm. You don't rise by lifting heavy once. You rise by lifting light many times. Every great creation started small. Every genius routine began rough. Every mountain climbed one step at a time. Always, there's magic in mastery. But mastery only arrives when devotion repeats. Here's what they won't tell you: it's not intensity that breaks barriers. It's gentle persistence. The world celebrates explosive effort, dramatic sprints, and overnight transformations, but true power lies in quiet, consistent steps that go unnoticed at first. A mountain is not worn down by a single blow. It is reshaped by countless gentle touches, repeated faithfully. The same is true of greatness. People may mock small beginnings, but it is the repetition of the small that makes the impossible inevitable. Fast starts are seductive, but they often lead to collapse. Structures built in haste crack under pressure. Yet, when you build patiently, brick by brick, with steadiness over time, you create a foundation no storm can shake. Many chase action without intention. They sprint with no map. But real growth doesn't come from sudden movement. It comes from structured rhythm, from action housed in routine, from decisions that repeat by design, not desire. Consistency beats intensity. You can scale the mountain in a blaze, but if you don't build the system to stay, you'll slide right back down. Energy without rhythm leaks. But even average effort, repeated daily, becomes something extraordinary. That's the truth the world avoids. Because it's not glamorous. It doesn't look impressive. It looks quiet, boring, even. But it works. Those who win are rarely the loudest. They are the ones who return. They refine. They don't just chase. It's not about motivation for them. It's about mechanics, systems, habits. They've replaced hype with infrastructure, emotion with execution. They've learned to build not for applause, but for progress. While others burn out chasing fire, they build furnaces that burn regardless of weather. Momentum is not magic, it's mechanics. You don't need to explode, you need to endure. The flashy fades, the impressive breaks. But what's repeated, that becomes unbreakable. The secret is showing up, not once, not when you feel like it, always. Even if it's small, even when you're unsure, especially when you're tired. Because showing up small every time beats showing up big once. That's the truth behind the unstoppable. Once they build a foundation through unwavering routine, what determines the next level isn't willpower, it's structure. When people talk about ambition, they talk about dreams and drive. But dreams don't win. Design does. You don't get extraordinary results by wishing. You get them because you built a repeatable system that made them possible. Everything you achieve stems from how you operate. Whether by accident or intention, you are always following a system. The question is, does that system serve your progress or sabotage it? Many don't lack ambition, they lack alignment. They dream of excellence, but their blueprint is chaos. They improvise their days. Their effort is constant but directionless. And effort without direction becomes exhaustion. Hope is not a method. Champions don't wake up and guess. They follow a protocol. They move by architecture, not by emotion. Because trying harder isn't enough, especially if your system works against your success. You can want the win, but if your gears grind on opposition, your energy will betray you. That's the cycle most are stuck in, not because they're lazy, but because their process isn't built to win. You wake up with ideas, but no itinerary. You make promises to yourself with no plan. So you spin. You stall. You wonder what's wrong. It's not you. It's your configuration. High performers don't wing it. They've designed their environment. They've preset the sequence. Success wasn't an accident. It was engineered. Because the truth is simple, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Your process becomes your performance. It's not about perfection. It's about design. A system that runs without emotion. A rhythm that holds you when you feel off. When decisions are pre-made and action is simplified, you conserve energy for progress. That's when you move from surviving to thriving. Discipline gets you started, but infrastructure keeps you going. Infrastructure makes your progress predictable. The ones who seem unstoppable, they've just built a life that holds them up when they're low. They're not stronger, they're smarter with their systems. They've created something that protects them from their own inconsistency. And that is a choice anyone can make. You just have to stop waiting for motivation. Start depending on structure. Rewire the behind the scenes. Repetition alone doesn't work. Repetition without intelligence leads nowhere. But when you sequence it right, it leads everywhere. The tools are there, you just have to use them wisely. If you don't build your framework intentionally, life will build one for you, and it won't be in your favor. Smart systems don't restrict, they free. They remove decision fatigue. They make right action automatic. That's the point. Not to control you, but to support you. Because chaos is not freedom. Control is. With control, you have space to create, to breathe. Without it, even the best ideas crumble under stress. Greatness lives in setup, in routine and unseen preparation. The gap between stuck and successful is rarely talent. It's often just structure. One person waits for the right time. Another builds the time. One hopes, the other prepares. That's the shift from reaction to design. Design your day. Design your inputs. Filter distractions before they reach you. Progress dies in unstructured hours, so structure them. Build loops, feedback systems. Progress doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be measured and reinforced. That's how momentum stays. Because when momentum fades, the system catches you. It moves you when your motivation can't. That's the real secret of consistency. Those who win consistently aren't stronger. They've just built something around themselves that keeps them in motion. You don't need to add more. Just arrange better. Sequence smarter. Make your success inevitable. And once your engine runs, the battle moves inward. It's no longer about setup, it's about emotion. The subtle storm that sneaks in, the voice that whispers doubt, that's the final frontier. You've built the system. But now feelings want to take the wheel. Not with logic, but with softness disguised as reason. Why not skip today? Why not slow down? You're tired. You deserve a break. These aren't commands. They're traps. Most given not from failure, but from feelings, because they let emotion guide execution. But success demands the opposite. Emotion can exist, but it cannot lead. It cannot drive. The high performers, they feel everything and still move. They don't wait to feel ready. They've stopped depending on mood. Because if you only show up when it feels good, you'll show up too little. Growth doesn't come from ease. It comes from friction. And emotion hates friction. But it's in those exact moments, when everything inside you says pause, that transformation is born. Not from motivation, but from movement. And that's the divide. The emotionally obedient stay average. The emotionally sovereign evolve. Emotional resistance isn't an excuse, it's a test. And every time you move despite it, you build self-trust, quiet confidence, integrity. Because consistency isn't about motivation, it's about honoring your word, even when your mood doesn't. Execution doesn't lie. It reveals who leads and who follows themselves. The finish line belongs to those who don't negotiate with emotion, who don't debate the mission, who move because it's time, not because they feel like it. If you wait to feel ready, you'll miss the door. If you wait to feel right, you'll wait forever. The job won't wait for your mood. The world rewards action, not intention. And every delay costs you trust. Every skipped action chips at your identity. But every follow-through builds something stronger. Emotion begins to trust your leadership. You stop being hijacked. You take the wheel. That's what changes everything. When your identity becomes action, not feeling, you stop chasing motivation. You start leading it. And that is the shift. You're not here to be part of the crowd. You're here to become the exception.